That music put me to sleep. Man. Hey, everybody. I'm just kidding. I figured you would all find that to be relatively strange. And yeah, definitely strange. So hopefully you guys are all good. And I hope that you had a nice weekend. I know that this is an interesting week because we're getting into May and the weather hopefully will start to change. And if it doesn't change, then we're going to be cooped up in here a little longer. Um, we have seen the governor, just so you are all aware, that the governor changed a little bit of the businesses that are going to be going back to work. So that may mean that your parents are going to start to go back to work. If that is the case, I think that's good. If I mean, I'm assuming that's good, right? Because some of your parents are out of work because they were laid off or their businesses aren't functioning or allowed to. So I think it's good that your parents may start getting back to work. We're hoping, with our fingers crossed, that by June 1st, a lot of things are kind of moving forward. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of people who said that if everybody goes back to work and everyone is allowed to um, to be out there, I don't know, that this could kind of rise again, right? That COVID can come back a little bit. So we're hoping that doesn't happen. So today, let's actually get to our, I guess you could call it a lesson for today. I posted the lesson a little earlier from than I usually do. Usually I wait until after 11 to post it because what I talk about is going to actually be important for you to know before the lesson or the question. But today, we are going to go ahead and talk about a little bit about some things in the video. So I know that people are just chatting away and aren't paying attention because you're talking about some weird stuff. But if you could do me a favor and just kind of focus on this, because there's only 8 of you guys watching, and I give you guys credit for being here in the chat. But I do want to share a couple things with you. There's something that I find that is really important to go ahead and discuss. The first thing, we are talking a little bit, we're ending our nutrition with our carb loaded video. This is a video I usually show in my classroom. You would see it, and I'm hoping that focus. I'm hoping that you guys start to understand a little bit about what's happening here. Okay, so first, let's move forward and let me share something with you. You're saying that my the stream looks healthy. Really? Oh, it's good. Okay, good. All right. So let me move forward here and share with you a little segment from the video because I want to talk about it. And I think it's important for us to go and know, if that's okay with you all. Let me pull this up here. Let's share here and here. So this is the carb loaded video here. So let me just play this really quickly, and I want you to understand this. So let's rewatch this.
Character, the pancreas.
The pancreas is part of the endocrine system and produces important enzymes and hormones that help us break down foods. This includes insulin, which regulates the body's glucose, or sugar level. A healthy pancreas is able to produce these enzymes and hormones at the right time, in the right quantities, in order to properly digest the food we eat. When a person has type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is being attacked by the body's own cells and can no longer produce insulin to remove sugar from the bloodstream.
So that's type 1 diabetes. You may have heard of diabetes before. We've talked about it several times in class. people are typically born this way. This is something that might happen. A couple of your classmates, I will not mention their name on the stream, but a couple classmates have type 1 diabetes. It's a real good demonstration of what it does. It doesn't allow the insulin to be released and do what it's supposed to do. Here's the second type 2 diabetes, which is way more introduced in our population.
In the case of type 2 diabetes, due to the volume and frequency of insulin being released, receptor cells become less sensitive to the insulin. This insulin resistance results in less sugar being removed from the blood. Sadly, over 360 million people worldwide find themselves in this situation.
So did you hear that? That's a lot of people who have found themselves in this situation, right? So when we talk about a couple things regarding diabetes, type 1, you learned, type 2, you just learned, and essentially it's when you consume way too much carbohydrates and way too many sugars, and your pancreas just kind of, it doesn't really necessarily get tired of breaking it down, it just can't keep up. And when it can't keep up, it's not good, really, really not good. Blood sugars start to rise. Body fat is hugely increased. And because where do you think all of that energy has to go? It has to go into a fat cell because we don't have room for it in the muscle in terms of glycogen. Okay, so type 3 diabetes. I know that you probably don't or have never heard of type 3 diabetes. I'm not a medical person, but the medical establishment is now thinking that type 3 diabetes is something along the lines of dementia and Alzheimer's. It's essentially when a glucose becomes, it's the cells inside of the brain have an inability to use the glucose, and it becomes kind of demented or plaqued in a way. I don't want to go into all of what happens in terms of lesions that can actually form, but that's what scientists are thinking, is that dementia is type 3 diabetes. And if you know someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia, you understand that this is a horrible, sad illness that takes place within the human. It's sad. All right, let's move on. There's a couple other things that I want to talk about. 1634. Let's go over here again. 1634. 1630. That's good enough, isn't it? Okay, here we go.
This was reflected in the food guide pyramids where
no doubt, the
great.
ketogenic diet is absolutely one of the most effective ways to increase.
Suddenly, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, all these foods that in the early 1960s were still considered uniquely fattening were now foods that should be the staple of our diets.
When they came up with the dietary goals, and they were based on weak science, and there was a lot of pushback from scientists, from nutritionists who said, even though they agreed with the recommendations, they said, this is a bad idea because we don't have the science to support this kind of experimentation on the public. It did not matter. The public and the media swallowed it hook, line, and sinker.
There was not one clinical trial to see whether that diet would make us healthier than if we continued to eat our fatty diets, which was considered to be so detrimental and dangerous. Not one single clinical trial.
So essentially, when you look at this portion, it talks a little bit about the food pyramid and how the food pyramid was created, and it was supposed to guide people into what they should be eating to be healthier, and it was a disaster. The food pyramid was corrupt. The industries that make wheat, grains, right, cereal, rice, they were farmers, and nothing against farming or farmers, but the government really wanted the farming industry to thrive, and I think they knew that the overconsumption of carbohydrates was going to lead to the issues that we had. And it talks very quickly, but it talks about how as soon as we installed the food pyramid, and as soon as we put in that you should be eating rice, pasta, cereal, bread, like all the time. And that was the majority of someone's diet at that point in history. We saw a huge rise in illnesses, diabetes. We saw a huge rise of obesity. We saw a huge rise of things that were associated with essentially eating too many carbohydrates. All right, there's one more that I want to share with you, and that is going to be at 21. I'm moving it right now before 21:53. 21, where is it? 21:52. That's good enough. All right, so 21, we're going to share the screen one more time, and then we'll move on. Here we go. Oh, man. All right, ready? Here we go.
Sound health and safety recommendations should produce favorable results. In the first two examples, that's precisely what happened. But when it came to the aforementioned dietary guidelines, the opposite has occurred. Clearly, the results have been disastrous. Is it a coincidence that our current health crisis began shortly after these nutritional guidelines were introduced?
The legacy of the food pyramid is a great example of an epic mistake that has caused more chronic disease in modern times than anything.
So there you go. There you go. I just wanted to share that with you, that disease occurred right after the installation of the food pyramid. And we don't teach the food pyramid anymore. The food pyramid should never have been installed and taught. It was a corrupt decision based on a couple things that happened back in the 60s with a man named Ancel Keys. If you're interested in it, to look at the history of the food pyramid and why that came to be, you could always search or Google Ancel Keys. All right. That's about it for today. Your question, essentially, for today is to come up with 10 more facts from the period of time when the portion of the video ended for the part one. And I knew you would like that. Hopefully you're saying that, Mateo, that you like that. You should Google Ancel Keys. I think you would definitely find his research to be absolutely corrupt. So kind of interesting. All right. Any questions that you have for me? The question has already been posted. I knew this was going to be kind of a very quick 15-minute. Annie, no, please no. What's your no, please no? I don't get it. Tell me in the chat. Here's some reminders. First reminder is that Thursday you will have we'll do this again Thursday, but after we'll have our virtual class. No, it's not like a pyramid scheme, Mateo. The food pyramid isn't like a pyramid scheme, right? It's just a simple, no, that's not what it is. No, oh, come on, Annie, you said no 10 more facts. Come on, it's easy. You watch a little portion of the video and you just write down 10 things. It's very simple to do. Plus, I have to do it. What else? You would have had to do it in class anyways. This is something we would have done in school anyways. So just look at it as you're sitting in your desk, kind of falling asleep a little bit, and you got to get these 10 facts done. And plus, it's really important for your health. Okay, I'm only going to do 5 facts tomorrow from the remainder of the video, so that's what you're going to get. All right, questions? Any other questions? I know there's a little delay here, so I'm going to give you some time. Look at that. Look at that in the background. You had a friend of mine find something very, very, very cool. Can we see your dog? Yeah. Piper, come here. Come here, Pipe. Can you see Piper? Can you see my doggy? So, yeah. So it's interesting. So I have a cat too. They get along fine, no problem at all. There's never been an issue. But it's interesting because I think my dog thinks there's something wrong because, my wife and I, my daughter, we leave in the morning, we come back later during the day. And it's just weird. I think my dog thinks that she doesn't have her privacy anymore. I don't know. All right. So everybody's good. I'm going to stop this live stream. I hope you're all fine. I do miss you. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I really wish that we were all back in school. And I will see you on Thursday. Yep. Talk to you guys later.